What's up, my tokers, jokers, and smokers? It's Chef Rodney here with another edition of the Daily Chronicles. Today, well, today we're going to sit down with a very, what's the word? Close friend of mine. I've just met this individual, but many know him by Professor Bluntstache, aka the Dumbledor of Dank. My man Max. Here it is, Daily Chronicles, y'all, coming at your faces.
All right, proceed to smoke weed.
What's up? I forgot to turn my mic down. My bad. Here's my man Max, aka Professor Bluntstache. Man, how you doing, man? Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm out here on vacation a little bit, and I'm glad that you caught me.
Oh yeah. Yo, repping the Smitten Mitten, man. I tell you, like, it's interesting to see a lot of people in Michigan, yourself included, going out of state for cannabis already. You know, we just got over COVID, and all of a sudden, gates are gone. You got your vaccination, you got your pokes, whatever you believe, and then boom. Now, if you would, you wanna tell the people what state you're in right now?
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, I took my Eastern show all the way over here to Oklahoma.
Oh no!
So I was joining, shout out to 303 Cannabis. He had the Hustle and Educate party, which was awesome. And I got to meet a lot of people from around the area and the living soil.
Oh yeah.
We had some questions and answers, some speakers up there going in depth. Some of them were just kind of like talking about the mission more and things like that. But we really got to go deep into some science and connecting with a bunch of people. And I also got to bring my little berry freak professional cut. Shout out to Dr. Friedkin of Research Co. for that. That's a phenomenal pinnate leaf type cannabis size. Extremely rare. Doesn't even look like it. It's a fern plant, honestly. It's a fern plant, sir.
I love everything about what's happening right now, because my man here is sitting openly at an undisclosed Starbucks in somewhere in the state of Oklahoma with that cannabis plant, and ain't nobody said, sir, you gotta leave. They're like, yo, what up, homie? It's a whole different vibe, right?
It's a whole different sort of culture out here, but it's in contrast to some of the experiences I did have. I have had some good experiences with cops and some not so good experiences with cops already here. Right. Some of them is still very, there's a lot of discrimination and things like that. It's still the South compared to, Ohio and Michigan and Massachusetts, areas that I'm more used to. So it was still a really just culture shock in general that there's so many different dispensaries and things popping up. This is an oasis and a renaissance essentially happening here, that people can get into this market and there's no glass ceiling. And we could talk about that for a minute in Michigan, right. Which I've been dealing with for years, trying to get a license in Michigan and Ohio.
I mean, get it. Like, you know, I always respect the hustle. I don't necessarily, like, you know, when you see somebody, you're like, okay, I know what this end result's going to be. I love that, you know, and then they're like, yo, I manifested that, or I created this, or I believed in that, or I chased that dream. I don't really care what that dream is, with all due respect to everyone, myself included. I just care about your hustle getting there, your grind, man. You know, that forward progress, that motion, you know, that ebb and flow, you know, that get it. Like, people love that. Everybody loves hearing a good happy ending, you know, and things of that nature. And that's the point, my man. You're out there repping the smitten mitten of all states. You're like, yo, what's up? But back, you know, back the other way, this is how we do it. Like, this is what we do, you know. I came across my man Bluntstash here when he was getting our cars from valet at the CHRONIClez. I know that sounds so terrible, but I mean, listen. That's the truth, though. At least, but see, here's the thing: we were supporting local business because, like, that was the closest, like, parking, and we were like, screw it. It's, you know, it's $20, man. I'm not worried about it. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. But it worked. I got my car back, so you know what I mean. But I do say this: do that with caution in Detroit.
Yeah, well,
do that with caution in Detroit. I kid.
We met inside of that the little ticket booth where we were meeting to get our tickets, right, for our car.
Yep. At the valet. Yep. At least that's what the sign
remember
said.
we were sitting there.
You're walking around taking hits out of that. You filled that little joint, and you're like, "You want some of this?" I was like, "Oh no, man." I was like, "Oh no, man. I'm about to get in my car. Like, I gotta pass on this." I should have. I really honestly should have. And I should have just been like, hey, you're driving. But I'm not that kind of person. I did promise the person that drove there that I would drive back. So I had to play it safe. And play it safe I did. But I owe you. So let's do that. I owe you. I'll tell you what. I will fix that. Speaking of which, I just got this really cool, like, vaporizer.
Yeah, can I?
Yeah. So I got this really cool vaporizer. No, absolutely. And I would love to sit down and, like, you know, use it. You can either fill up those little balloons, or you can use, like, this, like, little hookah hose. Either one works really well. That sounds like a good, you know, like, reason to break it in, man, and break it in, you know. But speaking of breaking things in, the show's all about kind of the 5 dubs. That's like the who, what, when, where, and why of, well, really who you are. You know, we want to know, you know, a few things about your cannabis past. We want to know a few things about, like, what how, you know, your favorites are and things of that nature. Anybody that's new to the show, you know, you'll kind of figure it out as we go along. Anybody that's seen the show knows exactly what we're talking about, so I don't need to rattle on. But without any other further ado, y'all, we're going to jump right to a little bit, like, of a quick message from one of our sponsors, ResRaid, y'all. ResRaid is, listen, especially with this new Delta variant or whatever's going on in COVID, whether you believe it or not, if you smoke from dirty pieces, it can hurt you, okay? So clean your shit. ResRaid.com, y'all. I was totally dancing backstage, and I hit the other mic, and yeah, they're not happy. Anyways, ResRaid.com. Oh, yeah. Get it. I think there's a little bit of a lag. Can you hear me good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but yeah, I'm getting a little bit of lag. You know, I'm out here at a Starbucks right now, so not the best place.
Hey, no worries. No, we'll just do it this way. So, it's time for the first dub, right? First dub. This is all about your first time ever smoking weed or getting high. Kind of set the stage, like, what happened? Where were you? Like, you know, what did you smoke? Kind of set the stage, like, what was the first time you got high?
Oh my gosh, the first time Professor B got high? Oh man, I remember it was when I was 18, and I had just turned 18, and I had experimented with a few, alcohol and things like that, but never really bad things like that. So my friend, he invited me out. He said, you've been trying this weed. You should try it. And I was like, okay. It was like brick weed, of course, just Reggie. That's all you could get back in the day. So we smoked this, and I remember distinctly, I also have a photographic memory, but I remember I got so high, I was laughing in the back of the car, and I ordered 2 Crunchwrap Supremes, 2 soft tacos, and a creamy rice and bean burrito. And I ate it all. And my friends were like, you could have bought that all for us, and you ate it all yourself. Yeah, that was back when I was much heavier. Yeah, I used to be about over 200 pounds, 230 pounds. Now I'm about 160, 170. But man, I can still put down food, let me tell you.
Get it, man. Get it. It's one of those things where it's like, let me ask you, let's back up before I say that. Why did this happen? First and foremost, like why? Like put me in your mindset, you know what I'm saying? Why did this happen?
Oh, why did I eat all the Crunchwraps and breads?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, for me, it was like trying to figure out what cannabis did to me and what it was for me took me a long time.
Okay.
So even after that first time, doing it and figuring out, man, this really stimulates my appetite, I started to notice it changed my appetite to different things.
Right.
And depending on what I could get and things like that. So very quickly, I learned that, there's much more to this than I thought. And that's kind of what led me on this journey through my whole career, which honestly is not even really related to cannabis, if you want to know the truth. Well, now it is, but...
I find it funny that, like, a lot of people that are in cannabis now, both sides of it, a lot of them will say, but my life has really nothing to do with cannabis. Like, I could do this and this and this without weed. That's the thing, and that's the truth. But at the same time, you have to understand that a lot of people, they reach out for that little that little under thing. Oh, thanks, appreciate it, man. But it doesn't matter, like. It doesn't matter which side of the toast you butter, you know what I mean? It's still going to taste the same if that metaphor lands on anybody's ears that understands it. But it's the truth. I guess you can put butter on both sides, but there's kind of overdoing it, don't you? Paula Deen would probably like that, but not necessarily everybody else, but I look at things like, where a person begins with cannabis, in addition to, like, that's kind of how they healed from it, you know what I mean? And so I could sit here and drone on about, my start in cannabis, but it's generic, mine seems very mundane under the constant supervision and scrutiny of my own anxiety, that's curbed by using cannabis. And so that's where we're at with that. But that doesn't make me any more special than anyone else, but being able to associate, culinary and cannabis and the mentorship that happens and the community that happens, well, that's exactly the kind of world that I would like to live in. And shit, I know it already, from the dogmatic militant ideas in these kitchens where you step on the line and you don't know anything. You know what I'm saying? You were a clean slate for this, chef to etch whatever he wants, and as much as you try to wash it off, it's a tattoo, man. It doesn't go away. You can cover up tattoos, and trust me, in this industry, you do. You understand? Take that away for whatever you want, whether it be the uniform or an ex-wife's name. The point is, the tattoo gets covered up. I find it interesting. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, speaking of this industry, I mean, that's a good point. Especially in Michigan, with everything going on, focusing on where we come from as a black market, I hate to say it, and again, people that are maybe a little more rough looking, people that have tattoos and things like that, you know, the stigma needs to change though, because what blows my mind is that when you are trying to get into this industry, there's a lot of people like, you trying to push you out, like, you know, but then, and they're even like not sure about you because if you are black market, and then all of a sudden, when you start making your way onto a medical market, onto a more legal market, all that stuff you were doing, now it's clout. Now you have a higher elevation of respect. Until you get to that level, though, it's such like this polarity that makes absolutely no sense to me in this industry. Because you know, I come from engineering, which is different.
Right.
I mean, cannabis is its own sort of industry, which I've done for about 3-4 years, but a grower for much longer than that.
Right. You know, and so everybody has their own specific views. They have a side they take, and they have, I would say, a division in which they fall under, if that makes any sense. That's given their backgrounds and things of that nature. So I think that in a perfect world, and we talked about this a little bit a few days ago, I actually think, but there exist 3 colors of cannabis, okay? There's black and there's white, which is legal, and then you've got the gray area, okay? So you've got the black market. That black market ain't going anywhere. It's not going. It was built during Prohibition. It's the cockroach. You understand? But at the same time, cockroaches have a dirty connotation when they're really clean. That's the point. So the point is, unless you got a can of big ass raid, you ain't stopping that. But it's not the point. Then you have the white market, which is the legal market. Which I say the white market just because it's the opposite of the black market. That's the only connotation that we're giving there. All right. In that legal market, there's a place for that as well. You understand? That's my point. We need to tax it in order to fund certain things and have certain things. I understand that. But it doesn't mean that I have to make all of my purchases there, and that is the point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's why there's recreational. Right.
And the people though who are trying to get the stuff as medicine though, like they're getting like robbed at some points because there's 30%. I just heard someone from Illinois tell me there's a 30% tax on cannabis. How are patients supposed to afford that? That doesn't make sense to me.
I understand that.
And it doesn't make sense to the farmers who are growing.
Right. Exactly. So it's interesting because that only illustrates my point any further. There should be like these gray market like guardians or paladins that go, okay, white market stay over there, black market stay over there, you know. That's it, because unfortunately we know the Cain and Abel story here. We understand that out of the 2 brothers, they're gonna kill themselves. Unfortunately, that's it. The only difference is it's not really Cain and Abel, I guess, now that I'm thinking about it, and a little elevated and medicated on that dab. But I think it's more or less of the student surpassing the teacher, if you will, in a sense, but for more of a melodramatic ending instead of, you know, happily ever after. It's one of those Voldemort, if you want to call it that. If you want to go Dumbledore and Harry Potter, you know, examples or anything. But I think it's necessary to keep both. There can be some mixing and some molding, and there's going to be a lot of that. But not in this house, you understand? Like, there's a gray area here for a reason. It keeps the peace between the two so they don't kill each other, because they will.
I agree. And that for me is the medical market. That's the gray area. And you know, for some of the viewers who aren't from Michigan and things like that, the things that are going on in Michigan are instrumental in the legislation that's going to be happening, because Michigan had medical cannabis back in 2008. So what's going on right now, their legislation is further along than most other places. Now, a lot of people from Ohio go to Michigan because you can still access a lot of caregivers' medical supplies. You know, up in Michigan, they're still changing it, but they promised a micro license option for all these caregivers. And I remember this. I was up there being a caregiver, as I am now, and they were offering it. Yeah, you're gonna get this. You're gonna get this. And then we said, oh, okay, maybe we'll let this slide through because we can still sell to our recreational friends who have the license. And then they took that away and didn't give everyone the micro license. So you're looking at me like, oh, well, then go try to get a bigger license. Oh, well, they're still not even giving those out. The only people they're giving out licenses to are people that are getting larger BCA at the same time, all just cool, like 3-4 at a time. Those are the people getting certified. They've passed. I believe my friend down in Michigan, I forget it. I'm not going to shout him out, but he basically told me, he said, yeah, there's only been 2 licenses, micro licenses, at the time that we had the gathering of those. And again, that for me is unacceptable. There are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of caregivers out there, literally in the state of Michigan, who are producing the bud still, that's making it into the medical dispensary somehow, even though the legislation is wackadoodle. And that's because that gray market is...
He said wackadoodle. My man said wackadoodle.
It's wackadoodle. It's like everyone's just like this. They're like this up in Michigan, and then they're like, and then all the people up in Ohio are like, this tastes like cardboard. We're going to Michigan. And all the Ohio people are like, well, we're trying to grow fire. Oh, I tried to teach you guys how to. You got mad at me when I told you guys.
Shout out Michigan cannabis across the board. Shout out. Like, that's, you know, listen, if you pre-roll a joint for me, okay, which, you know, all right, appreciate it, okay, tip of the hat there for whoever does it, and you lay them identical to me, they can be even the same strain, down to the same THC percentage, it doesn't matter, but you get the point. A blind case study, and you tell me which one's from a dispensary and which one's caregiver. I'll let you know in the first 3 puffs. That's my point. You know, as a chef, I know because I understand these flavors. I've worked with them all of my life. You know, I've got sommelier friends whose favorite thing in the world is brunch, and they swear that it's a sandwich instead of just a meal. The point is, okay, I've trained myself, you know, to have a refined palate to an extent, you know, and I can remember, dude, like a year ago, I thought I got COVID because I couldn't taste anything for 2 or 3 days. You know what I mean? I was like, oh,
probably did.
Well, that's the thing. I didn't even worry about it because it went away. So I was like, I'm just not going to move. Like, I'm just going to stay in the house like that. You know, it's fine. You know, I'm grounded for a couple of weeks. That sucked. But anyways, you know, I've been all right since then. My point is, the refined palate comes through, and with that refined palate, you know, a lot of people are like, yo, I love this, you know, tart because of the way that it tastes. Well, that's the thing, though. Like, you say that, but then I see you lighting your joint with a huge butane torch. You're killing everything.
Or they're inhaling the butane even, too. It's like, just light it, don't inhale it. There's a compromise. It's called intelligence. But, you know, I completely agree, man. As someone who also has a connoisseur palate, I like to think, at least when it comes to cannabis and food to a certain extent, what else do you think we're picking up on that? You can tell, because I'm the same way. It's like, if I hit that a couple times, I'm like, I know that like grown with chemicals or grown with this, it's like there's a taste to it that just is not right. Or if it's not cured right, which is half the problem, because if it's not cured right, then I'm just going to get the not cured right taste right off the bat, and I can't even tell the quality of the growing.
Well, in addition to, you're looking for that white ash club, you feel me? Like, you look at how it burns. If it burns evenly and you got that white ash and it comes off kind of like squarish, chunky, and you rolled a good J, that's good. Also look for your halo ring. You know, these are signs of a good J. Real talk, y'all. If your papers are burning black, don't smoke that. That's what we want to say. You know, there's a lot of good lines of good, you know, paper companies and filter tip companies. We all know one, you know, to name a few. I don't even want to shout them out. The matter is, like, we know it, you know what I mean? the point is, get a good paper, get a good cone, roll it up, make it your own. That's really a good little Dr. Seuss rhyme that was told it to me, and I was like, well, shit. As much as I hate you because that was the cheesiest thing you ever fucking told me, it has done me the most. He called me back months later. He's like, yo, you remember that rhyme, don't you? I was like, yeah. He's like, it's terrible because you remember it. That's how it works. He's like, I hate that magic. I'm like, this is, horse cockery, if you will. But speaking of like having our favorite little like nuances about certain aspects of our life, be it our industry knowledge, our entrepreneurship, or cannabis itself, I'm kind of curious like about what your favorite things in cannabis are. So that brings us to the second dub of the Daily Chronicles show. When we come back from this message from Hempful Farms, we will get back to my man here and Professor Blee and find out what his favorite cannabis kind of like things and thoughts are when we come back. And we're back with my man, Professor Blunt Stash, a.k.a. the Dumbledor of Dank. What's up, brother? So, we're at the other dub. This is the favorite dubs, man. This is your favorite cannabis likes and dislikes, if you will, man. Give it to us quick. Break it down for us. Let us know what it's real and what isn't. What's your favorite way to consume cannabis and why?
Man, I really have so many ways. I mean, obviously, I really like to smoke blunts. Like, there's something about that thick smoke. Honestly, vaporizing, edibles. I mean, dabbing, I really try to do small dabs, but I just get messed up. But,
Man, it's just like, get it in you.
I'm just like anything. It's like everyone's always like, well, this way or that. It's like the synthetic versus organic, which is probably the thing I like the least about the cannabis industry is the weird divides your thing, right? It's like I go to a grower thing and I'm like, well, growers are like, what do you grow with? What do you like? What this and that? It's like, dude. What strain you? Okay.
Right.
Same strain. It's like,
I don't mean to toot the horn to the caregivers, but toot first and foremost. Secondly, I really like my cannabis. I mean, this is obvious. Anybody that knows me.
It's better than theirs. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So that being said, I have a certain standard that I stay within. Okay. Some people have met and exceeded that standard and then dropped below it. It is what it is. But this is my personal standard of life. This is just how I vibe in it. This is where I fit. And honestly, so what? You know what I mean? It ain't hurting nobody. I can be picky if I want to. There's a lot of connoisseurs out there that grow fire. Sometimes I want some fire. Sometimes I want some ice. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at with it. I want to be cool and mellow. Like, it depends on the strains. I get that, and there's so much science coming to y'all. So much science coming that I just got made aware of. No, I'm not on the pinnacle or forefront in this, but I am in the trenches. You understand? So I just got made. Trust me, it's the frontline trenches. Let me tell you.
What science news? What science news we got?
All right,
let's talk about some science. Yeah, I'm a chemical engineer, so let's do it. Let's do it.
I knew you were gonna call me. I knew you were gonna call me out on this, and I normally don't go straight to my phone during the show, but it's fine. It's hyped me up so much. Okay, so there is no, you and I were talking about this. Remember? The dabbing temperature guide.
Oh, yeah.
You burn off the temperatures and stuff, and how you compare that to the oven and things like that. That whole article, that's what we were talking about. So I guess I kind of hyped it up for everybody that didn't know, but at the same time, for everybody that loves like a low temp dab, I mean, that's cool, but you've already burnt off all these terpenes that were in that profile that you smelled. So for you to be be like, oh, but it tastes like this. It doesn't. Sure, you know what I mean? Maybe, but fact of the matter is, this new temperature guide has come out, and it proves.
Dude, and then what blows my mind is that what people don't realize is that thing is staying at 450 the whole time, and it's literally things are vaporizing off, and they're basically denaturing. And then people are like, well, how about smoking a joint? And I'm like, dude, smoking a joint is actually half of vaporizing it. That's why you don't smoke the second half.
Are you ready for this?
You're actually
Do you know how you fix this? Do you know what a cold start is?
A cold start? Of course, a cold start. Which is the way you do that.
Yeah.
You do that with an email, though. You can, but then
you can do anything with any of them.
Every single time. There has to be. I think there's going to be a mechanism or a way for us to do this. It's undiscovered or undisclosed quite yet.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
I agree with you. The temperatures are way too high, in my opinion.
Yep. They are.
You're almost like combustion. Why are you even down?
Exactly. Like, we're not trying to, we're trying to swerve between the laws here in certain states where you can't combust things or it's illegal. You know what I'm saying? That's my point. Like, that's so stupid. Like, I've heard of laws that are, in states that are like, okay, it's legal to have and everything like that, but you can't light it on fire. And we're like, wait, what?
That's Ohio. Let's go there. Let's go there.
I wasn't saying that, but, I
was a professor at the Cleveland School of Cannabis for 2 years, and let me tell you, I know a lot about Ohio's laws, and in particular, for them to say that you can't combust cannabis, we are the laughing stock of the entire nation.
That's why I was just laughing at it.
I mean, I'm an Ohio native again. I moved to Michigan, so it's right. But it's like, my people over there, it's like, come on, guys. Like, why did we do that? And a lot of people don't understand. They actually passed a law that was written in. So we struck down the law that's in currently when I was a resident back there. I remember all my friends, we struck it down, and then all of a sudden, look, they wrote it in the next month. They wrote in the same boat, which was essentially a monopoly. And I'm gonna call it like I see it because it's not okay. And I saw the people that went into that industry in the last 2 years. So I think I know what's going on.
Right. No, I dig that, dude. Like, exactly. And you're the person to say that. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that law is stupid. That's all that for the record. That's
love Ohio. Love hate Ohio. Listen, Ohio. Maybe I'll be back when you don't suck so much.
I thought it was for lovers, y'all. That's all I'm saying.
God, he knows what I'm talking about.
How you gonna be like, yo, Ohio is for lovers, Hawthorne Heights and all that other shit, emo, whatever we want to call it, progressive, whatever. All right, and then I can't smoke a joint. And,
you can vaporize one.
I mean, that's one thing. That's one thing.
You can't grow anything there, honestly.
Well,
medical patients aren't allowed to grow there, which, in my eyes, any medical state that you can't grow it's an absolute
travesty.
It's a travesty, exactly. It's a travesty because then they don't have access to be able to do things just like Rodney's talking about, learning to infuse, doing things like that, and that's where a lot of helpful effects come from that you can't get from the other way. Some people can't get it just from vaporizing and things. They need to have that. So then you're cutting off the whole point of the medical, which is to have people have access to the medicine. They should be able to grow it because it's a.
So let me kind of say some controversial shit.
I'm ranting.
You're good. You're absolutely fine because I couldn't agree more. And so I kind of want to go on some controversial shit real quick.
Let's go.
Let's get it. Hang on. So real quick, I got a little bit of quiet. Sorry, the background noise and whatnot. It's all good. Yo, so if there is, and I'll say this, and I'm sure my man's going to jump in here in a second to say something, but if there is this entire temperature guide of when you're burning off terpenes and when these terpenes burn off, I want you to understand, hang on, there's that, put it at the bottom of the pyramid. At the very top of the pyramid, I want you to understand first and foremost the ECS. That is the endocannabinoid system. Okay, without terpenes, that entire healing, getting high is completely pointless. You're only getting blasted with THC, CBN, a few other cannabinoids at the other end of the heat spectrum, and they're tapering off as you want. So, if you take your concentrate or whatever you have. I don't think that this would be possible with combustion and flower, though it is a typical method and is traditional method. Joint, bong, I still do it, you still do it. We're gonna still fucking do it. But the point is, anything combustion, anything that goes, click, that right there, that little flame, that's ruining your healing. As soon as that happens, you're not healing, you're recreationally using. I'm sorry. However, if you move to an edible, that's a whole different story, because you don't burn off those terpenes if you prepare the infusion correctly. I see a lot of chefs out there and the like saying, yo, this is infused, or they either tell you how it's infused and then it's not the correct dosage, you know what I'm saying, or they tell you that it's way off. It's I found there's a lot, okay? That's not saying anybody doesn't know what they're doing. I'm not saying that. But you have to understand that the entourage effect, the ensemble effect, is different for everyone. There's a lot of people that, depending on what's going on, believe it or not, in their diet, they just won't receive an ensemble effect from eating an edible the same. That being said, certain ways of infusion and ingredients will make people have a good, high or medicated, elevated, whatever feeling. So there's a lot more to come on that, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of science that's, let's be perfectly honest, that we didn't have before. You know what I mean? We thought it was illegal, they wouldn't fund it, And so, appreciate you.
I think a lot of what you said is true. You know what I mean? Anyone who's trying to say that edibles are not going to be as healthful, that's not a winning battle. So how would you try to say? I just don't understand how someone would say that. But at the end of the day, what I try to help people realize is that actually combusting cannabis is half vaporizing it, because the vapor is coming down or going down in temperature, and some of it's actually getting more of a better effect. And I still see, I'm gonna be honest, the only reason I say this as well is because I've tried to understand it, because I see patients who go edibles joints or edibles, bongs. Like, that's where they go. But when you're trying to bust it out of a pipe or something with the butane, I agree with you, dude. It's not the same as smoking a stick that lets it cool down and actually half vaporizes it. So I think there's a lot of controversy. And, we can talk about the vapes for a minute, but that whole thing showed us that there are things that we don't understand about certain ways to do cannabis. And some scientific tests I saw that were under the table at one of the biggest places in the world were saying they knew months before that there was heavy metals inside of these sort of things. And I'm seeing that there's going to be resurgence of things like this in the cannabis market. I hope they're not falsified bullshits and things like that. But a lot of it just comes from cheap material. And cheap labor and cheap things that cause these issues.
And that's one of the things that I do want to shout out Michigan for in its legal market, okay? So Michigan's one of the most scrutinized markets there is, because we go through a great deal of testing. You understand that. There are testing facilities all over. With the correct COA is really how to get away, is one of my friends, and I don't know why my people keep rhyming shit. They need to stop it. I don't really live in a Baptist world, but here we are. So, it does make sense though, because I've got friends that own dispensaries. I've got friends that run grows. I've got friends that have compassion centers. That's just it. I have people that I grow at home. And so that being said, like, there's different strokes for different folks, and I can't emphasize that enough. That's kind of the narrative that I go. Hence the gray area. But at the same time, man, like, it sounds like cannabis is just all around part of your life. At the same time, if it left, you wouldn't be that sad. You wouldn't be pissed off. You know what I'm saying? You would be I get it.
Dude, what? If I left, that's like my wife, man. That's my wife right here. See this?
Listen. Little displays of affection. Public PDAs, huh? PDAs. Remember that shit?
Chill.
No, it was funny because, if you think about the narrative back when I was in high school, if I'm dating myself here, and I say, okay, yeah, PDA, okay, hands, everybody remembers that. Nowadays, we're like, yo, I don't want to go near him at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't no like 6 feet, social distancing, and so it's like this is gonna mess with kids. Luckily, there's CBD that can help that. That's the truth of it.
One thing I want to talk about, if you don't mind, is I want to talk about those ratios that you were talking about and the lack of any sort of facts or even people who create these infusions having knowledge. I thought that it might be interesting.
Right, yeah. So there's a lot of people that are they're claiming to have this nano infusion that's more potent, okay? I'm going to tell you this right now, since you are a scientist. Listen, what they're talking about is latency, okay? That's the onset of the bonding of the cannabinoid system. This nano infusion, yes, the onset is within 7 minutes, so it's about as close as immediate, as you can get, which is great for pain. So I want you to think of it as like salvia in an instance for those people that are privy to that. You would smoke it, then instantly you would be lifted, and there were a lot of psychedelic side effects, and then 15-20 minutes later it goes away. So I want you to think about that. Now, don't abuse it like salvia, obviously, but it's called THCV. It's 30 times stronger bond than THC. The point is, it's good for an onset of pain. It's good for like a real quick break. Do your thing, reset, if you will. At that point, I would just take a micro dose of some shrooms, but that's just me. Do your state laws. They're decriminalized in parts of Michigan. I can access those parts of Michigan. Huh?
Ann Arbor, shout out.
Ann Arbor, exactly. I wasn't going to shout it out. People know, but now they know. So, my point is, it's all about healing at the end of the day. All right? At the end of the day, whether you want to do it instantly, smoke a joint, whether you want to eat edible and be like, yo, in an hour, I'm going to be Gucci, you feel me? Or you want to smoke a bong, it don't matter. Like you were saying at the beginning, get it in you, and that's the point of it. If you want it in 7 minutes, fine. You know what I mean? That's fine. But don't tell me it's more potent, because if you only stick 40 milligrams of something in there, you're only going to be able to get 40 milligrams.
Or the guys that don't stick anything on the label, they start some stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, you got all this, and then he's like, it doesn't even have a label. He's like, it has what? It's super heavy dose.
Like, all right, listen. It was a little something, and I've then since talked to them, and they did explain that it was a prototype. Okay, so and that's fine. But I told them, well, hang on, because I told them, I was like, I'm gonna straight up before I even help with this. Like, I'm not even gonna say their name now. You guys will see it if you pay attention. You'll see it. But I talked to him. I was like, we got to talk about some stuff first. Like, this doesn't make any sense here. This is kind of, and then it was smoothed out. We did find out that that's a prototype, and that's the number one thing everybody said. They got sent a sample to test it. So okay, cool. That's part of the feedback.
Maybe they wanted to blind test the potency. I didn't think about that.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what it was. That's the feedback.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so that's why they just put the experience there. So one of the things I can tell you though is I did appreciate the elevated effect from it, but the flavor needs some work. That's what I'm going to say. I mean, that's my official vote on it. It pushes to a different type of market on the cusp of something that just faded away. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, we don't want to dabble into those markets just yet until we can, institutionalize things across the board. I feel like that's putting the cart in front of the horse, but that's just my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at. I mean, we're already fighting off, names like Skittles and packaging rights and stuff that looks like it's packaged to kids when really it's just aimed at kids like me that's a man-child that grew up in the 90s that has to try and relive his life, so I'm kidding, but
I mean, things like that sell. I don't understand it. How many grown people I see going around. Accessing your inner child is something that I think is a beautiful thing that people need to do. And at the end of the day, kids are going to get access to this regardless of what package it's in. That's why you need to have a better culture and changing the stigma. Because look, you don't see 8-year-olds chomping at the bits to drink alcohol, right. And you're not going to see them chomping at the bits to smoke cannabis. And then that's because you need to have the proper culture. All right, hey, over there and over Europe, you're like 14 years old, you're getting wasted on the street. Like, whoa.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right there, man. I think the war on drugs, if you will, kind of was like a big shotgun to the foot of politicians and people of that time, because it kind of was like, okay, well, you're gonna, perish, and I don't think people will agree with you. And guess what happened? So it's unfortunate, but at the same time, those people are no longer there. Some of them might agree that they are conspiracy theories. Everybody else agrees with conspiracy theory. I personally don't give a shit. Just fix it because it's broken. That's where I'm at with it. Like, it's, I'm an anarchist saying that, an open anarchist going, no, listen, that's wrong. And most people are like, oh, as an anarchist, you want to burn down the city. I mean, is it going to be pretty? Like, that's give me a good reason. At the same time, don't do that. There's, women, children, and animals, and all kinds of awesome critters and stuff in there. That's not the purpose of it. At the same time, it's making it for the people. You don't want that. You don't want that. That's me producing, a profit for this black market. You don't want that. But at the same time, they don't want you. So what are we gonna do here? And that's the point. I'm kind of just like not in this house. I live in a very advantageous point of my life where I can procure from both sides of the market. Period. There's a way to do it. In addition to, I'm able to grow my own medicine. You understand? This shit is a medicine when you understand the temperatures there, and that's what we want to emphasize there. So know your temperatures, get it in you. Excuse me, sorry. Heal from this plant, but it's like I always say, man, and I'm sure you can agree with this. Know what you're trying to heal first, and then heal accordingly. For example, so I suffer from asthma. A lot of people know this. A lot of people don't. Sometimes I have things that trigger my asthma. I don't know what it is, but I can tell you this. Anytime I smoke, a strain or a concentrate or I eat an edible with pinene in it, that's really good for asthma. So if you Google foods rich in pinene right there, and then you change your diet, you're going to notice a lot of your asthmatic problems going away. I wonder why this is.
Well, pinene is one of the most anti-inflammatory of them. It kind of has that little group hanging off of it, so it just kind of will hit and react and act as a free radical scavenger. But in general, it also seems to just dilate. There's something about maybe the structure, the signaling of it, or maybe it's like a histamine sort of pathway.
So,
who knows that it causes it to go down?
Let me mess with the viewers' heads. So listen, before I smoked, hella weed, there used to be this forest behind my house, and as a kid, I've kind of always really had asthma, if you will. Like, I could run as a kid and stuff, but my asthma didn't really kick in until after I smoked cigarettes for X number of years, and now I run a mile, I'll get it done, but it ain't gonna sound good when I'm done. But point is, I stay fit, I'm all right, doctor's like, you're actually not overweight, and I looked at him, I was like, fuck you, dude. You know what I mean? Like, fuck you. He's like,
well, you are a doctor.
Right.
Huh?
I was like, go away, man. Just leave me alone.
So why don't you jump on the scale, doctor? Well, get on there.
I was like,
bro.
nah. But anyway,
How many pounds you gain?
Oh, he does not like that I smoke weed. He does not like that.
He's just talking smack to you.
Yeah, I know this. I know 100. I know what he's got to say. I know. He goes, I can't condone this. I was like, I can, and I'm gonna. Like, plain and simple. Like, it's interesting because I have that vibe around me, and my girlfriend tells me, she goes, listen, these people aren't used to people like you. I was like, what, smart people? And she was like, basically. She goes, yeah. And so I was like, well, that's terrible. I was like, shouldn't you treat people accordingly, and especially if their health insurance is paying for this? And she goes, you would think that, and that's my point. You understand? So if the customer service is only good in specific locations across the healthcare, you understand, and people are fighting to get this and actually dying from not having it, I would say probably worry about your own bullshit before you want to tell us not to, attack pharmaceuticals or anything, because the only thing that we're creating here is cures. Real talk. I'm out here telling people, put weed in your food, whether it's hemp, whether it's THC. You can narrate the kind of ensemble effect that you want. You can create an experience and heal from that all your own. You understand?
Yeah.
I got people out here blasting brownies with 1,000 milligrams. That is not healing. That's you're looking for a psychedelic feeling. Listen, there's science that illustrates that you can only absorb things at 100 milligrams, at a time. Okay, if that's the case, you're
For a
looking
couple
at 10,
hours.
Exactly. So
Right.
that's the point. Like, you're not even getting 1,000 milligrams out of that. You're gonna peak out, and then it's basically pointless.
It's going down your gut.
It's a void. Exactly.
Going
that's
down
it.
your gut. It's a waste of money.
No.
Yeah, these are phenomenal points.
Yeah, and so thank you. And so that's my point. There's this new strain, a bunch of strains coming out that were like, it's the cannabis hypermesis syndrome, which is like,
Oh, man.
vomiting and stuff. People are getting super high.
I know two people that have that, and I can tell you they're two very different people. One's a man, one's a woman, one's old, one's young. It makes no sense. The cannabinoid hyperemesis, I think everyone is kind of confused about it because they don't understand the mechanism.
Okay.
And I just had the doctors are trying to say everyone has it because they're wanting to make it more common now. I'm calling you fuckers out, I'm sorry to say. No, people don't have CHS. I know what CHS looks like. If they can't move and they're throwing up and the only thing that makes them stop is getting in the shower, that's CHS. Anything else, shut the fuck up, it's not CHS. I don't care what anyone says. These two people had it, and they were some of the first in the entire country. The one guy, I think it was the third or second person. His name was Pack Rat. He was a wizard on a farm. Here's his picture, right here.
I like all of that. That's my man.
For real, he lives on the blueberry farm. But at the end of the day, cannabinoid hyperemesis is something that we're seeing because of these hyper strains. Too much dabbing. Hey, guys, I'm sorry. Too much dabbing. I can smoke blunts all day, and guess what? Oh, you're gonna die or whatever. No, I'm not. You can smoke too much THC inside of your dabs all day, and you will get CHS, son. Especially if there's no terpenes in there. Have fun. You will get it eventually. We're gonna see a lot of people who are these dab heads and shit.
I'll tell you right now, it happened to me. It happened to me last year. So
look at that. See?
That's the thing. Like, I was given a distillate and I was told the incorrect dosage. Okay, I was told it was only 100 milligrams in all of this, and I'm like, okay. I mean, if that's the case, 100 milligrams, 4 people, like, that's not a big deal. You understand? Like, that's not going to be. It's 25 milligrams, if that, per person. It's going to be a pretty good meal. That's the way I looked at it, and so that I dosed accordingly. Luckily I didn't feed it to anybody because the distillate just tasted terrible. But I did have a good big bite of it, and that one bite, I think it blasted me at like 400 milligrams of Delta 8, or 400 or 4,000. I don't remember. The math was completely off, but at the same time,
it's a lot of Delta 8. It's a lot of Delta 8.
So here's what happened. I walked out from tasting that. I just knew as soon as like it hit the back of my throat. I woke up and I turned everything off. Okay, and I walked out on the deck, and I remember seeing my girlfriend, and I'm like, I'm not okay, and then we just started whipping, and I'm just going down, and so I collapse. I remember waking up on the couch and everyone's around me, and there's this stupid searing pain in my gut, and I didn't know what was going on, and so I decided, I was like, all right, I'll be all right, and it was just, I ended up taking the ambulance ride, puking in the ambulance, almost all over this I wouldn't say intern, but this intern, you know what I mean? I was like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, it's cool, dude. She's like, it's my first puke. This is a cool thing. I was like, get it.
Let's go.
Get it. But here's the thing. A lot of people will be like, oh, it's just because you can't. No. Listen, mistakes happen. You understand? Mistakes do happen. I didn't know, okay? And I dosed it accordingly. I learned. I failed there, but I did learn from that. Know your dosages or find out. You understand? That's probably the best way that I can tell you, responsibly to medicate. You know what I'm saying? That way to avoid cannabis hyperemesis syndrome.
You had the A. This is what I call the ACHS, which is the acute type of, which is not the same thing.
Okay, what's that?
Because the thing that he had and my other friend has, I won't talk about them openly. I don't like to have that out there because some of them are still involved in the market. But that means that they can't, still to this day, it doesn't matter how much capsaicin they eat, how many red peppers, how many this, how many lint flushes, something's going down with their CB receptors. And I'm saying from a chemical engineering perspective, I see what's going on and I know what it is. And I'm not sure if I want to talk about why I know or how I know what's causing it, but I can tell you what the sources of it is, and it's not too much cannabinoids, it's too much cannabinoids plus other things.
Okay, so that makes sense.
And then let's say, and I'm not going to say where those other things come from or what companies produce them even, but I'm going to say they're probably chemicals. And then when you bring that to you were saying the whole driver analogy, right?
Right.
So you probably said that on the show before, THC is a driver, and all these different things. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly, but at the end of the day, there's other things that are getting in that car. It's in the trunk. There's the trunk archetype for you, because in the trunk, there's the crap that's causing the CHS and all the other things that no one wants to talk about, and having too high of a distillate temperature and overreacting and actually denaturing the chemicals to a point that is not those chemicals, and denaturing the other things that come along with them. So again, get back to that temperature thing, and people not processing properly, processing with more chemicals to clear it up, things like that. Who knows what's in that?
Do you hear about all the weed that they found near Pompeii, Italy?
What? Like historic?
Yeah, I think they destroyed like a large amount of it. I don't know. I cruised through it, man, and just came across my desk this morning. Someone's like, "We're gonna want to talk about this somewhere." So I was like, "I'll mention it, and then I'll lead back into it later." But I saw that it was near Pompeii, Italy, and that there's this huge square footage of cannabis. Obviously, I think it was an illegal grow. I'm not 100% sure, but the ground was super, super fertile. So all this awesome weed just got wasted. I'm so mad about that. At least, Italy, you can't. That is. What are you doing? What are you doing? I used to love it. Y'all have basil. You have the most amazing basil in the world. You have created the archetypes that people have, made foundations of tomato soup and things of that nature. That's my point. There's a trinity of herbs. Rosemary. Okay, herbs to Provence, if you will. A little bit of lavender, a little bit of rosemary, some thyme, and some oregano. That's my point. That's called the Italian. Oh my.
Hey, I'm Italian. I can get down with that. But I thought we were known for our biceps, our Colosseum biceps.
It's just come on, man. Come on. But
they have some of the most advanced hemp regulations in farming going on. They export a lot of hemp, and I'll tell you, that was a move to get that field for hemp.
Then, possibly.
I know it was.
Or they'll just made you look.
Yeah, they're like, this is ready, thank you, and then we're gonna go hemp there, because right now Italy's doing massive research with that stuff. They were very anti-weed for very long.
Well, in addition to that,
anti-weed, which makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But here's probably why. If I had to take a crack at it, okay. So Italy right now is allegedly paying people to move there and settle, because there's certain villages that they want to amp up to drive people outside of the bigger cities, so that there's a lot of, let's capitalize off of this. Basically, there's a lot of this land that we want to just basically get you to move. So part of that is you have to start up a small business. Open some fucking dispensaries, dog. I'm telling you, if you open up these southern Italy dispensaries, my fat ass will probably be over there like, what did I tell you? You're welcome. You know what I mean? That's my point. Italy, you're doing it wrong, okay? If you go green, I'm telling you, people will flock there. At the same time, don't let the Sicilians scare everybody off. That's what I'm saying about it.
We are scary. We're very.
Listen, you can tell a true Italian when they talk with their hands. You know what I mean? I get that, but it's sometimes those hands are fists, and you ain't said nothing yet. You know what I mean?
You had some Italian friends, some Sicilian friends.
I've worked for some Italian chefs that like knew 5 words in English, and one of them was fuck, and he used it constantly. Hey, you fuck! Like everybody was named fuck. We're like, okay, well, you know.
He's like, this is the most versatile word I ever fucking heard.
He did too. Like, he did too. And then he would mutter Italian slurs under like his breath, and it got to the point where like I would hear it, you know, not knowing what it meant, and then I would go home and say it, and you go, oh, that motherfucker, you know what I mean? Like, that's my point. And so like I would go back so heated, and he figured this out. He knew. He came back and he was like, I know what you're doing. I'm like, no you don't. No you don't. He's like, you don't know what I speak or what I say or something, however he said it, because it's very broken English. And then he goes, so you know asking me, my love, you don't ask me. And I'm like, whoa, calm down. It's not like that. Like, what relation to, that's just it. They say, you know, mi amore, and you know what I mean? Like, they keep going. And it's just like, right, but don't call me a dickhead next time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna Google it. And he goes, no, that was, you know, right. I found out that the reason that he was so brash to everybody and very rugged and just, you know, surly is because at the end of the day, the dude had to fight to get across the boat to get here. You understand? Like, he's living that life. He's getting that grind, you know. He's trying to do this in a land where it's bastardizing the food that, you know, where his grandma would kill anybody around, you know, the table. That's what it is, you know? So he's really kind of taking his heritage back a little bit. It was like, all right, if you guys are going to fuck it up, I'm just going to, you know, halfway teach you know what I mean? And that's the point of it, you know? And so when he was calling me a dickhead, I thought when really he was calling himself a dickhead, and he tried to explain that, and I was just like, oh, okay, well, you are, but that we won't talk about that. That's a whole different conversation. Can I punch in now?
You could try, so, you'd hit back real hard.
Well, it wasn't gonna punch him. You know, he got a little angry a few times and he got hammered, but I don't think it was. I think
you guys had a bromance. You had a bromance. Come on.
Listen, the only bromance that I've really ever had with a chef was one that I worked with. That it was just like he's a joy to be around. You know what I mean? You're like, that's this. Let's get it. Like, let's get it. You know, and at the end of the day, like, he didn't really care who you were. He showed up at work, and it got to the point where like we never really hung out outside of work. You know what I mean? Because like he always got off earlier, and so he was first cut. You know what I'm saying? So he's kind of gone. But like I would still work with him, and we would do, you know, development and things of that nature, and then I would finish out and close. You know what I mean? And so those few hours every day like was very crucial for both of us for the first couple of months. And then finally, like he was the first one. He's like, we've never hung out before. Let's go get a couple of beers. And I'm like, cool. Yeah. We got hammered, so and that started that, you know, and so it got to the point to where that's who I would look to go to these, you know, to these parties, to have these parties, to throw these ragers, you know, to pretend that I had this social life outside of the kitchen that rarely actually happened, you know. But when it did, that's the problem. I want you to take the normal social life of like a college kid or something and make it so long, and then just squeeze it in concentration, you know, and flavors, you know, concentrated flavor and partying, and then use that to illustrate how a chef has a social life. You know, we know that, okay, check it out. Tonight is my only night to get hammered because it's quote unquote my day off. I'm lucky they didn't call me in again. I'm not answering the phone if they do. I'm getting shit faced. I'm going bar hopping. I'll deal with the hangover in the morning because I worked the night shift on purpose. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, whatever. I guarantee they'll call you the next morning like, yo, we need to come in the morning shift. And you're still drunk. You just laid down to go to sleep. You're like, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, I gotta, you know, what? And I gotta go to sleep. And I'll get up at noon. Shit's at 4. We're good to go, right? That's fine. That's the mind of a chef. Bitch, I guarantee they call you at 0600. Like the moment you lay down, you're like, no, we need you to come in. And you're like, well, when can I be drunk then? You know what I mean? And then you're like, screw it. I'm just gonna continue being drunk then. You know
I think a life of a grower, man. She calls all day long, don't she? You don't care.
Oh, she does too. Don't even know. Listen, if you're not ready to marry that plant, don't grow it. That's
Or
it.
you
That's what I'm
can
gonna tell
go
you.
shitty weed, and then we'll just make fun of you because it's not as good.
Well, I don't want to be mean, so don't do that.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be, but
No,
if
you're
you
all right.
if you aren't committed to this plant, I very, very rarely find someone who will create medicine like I've seen you create, and other caregivers and people like that. You know, it speaks for itself.
Absolutely. Now, unknowingly, we kind of covered one of the dubs, the crazy dubs, talking about like that one time we, took too much and stuff like that.
That was a great story.
Oh, yeah. It was a great one. So we have this last dub though. This last dub. This is for all the marbles. This is for everything. All the chips, man. When we come back after Pitch Big Die Man. pigfishdimag.com. If you don't go there, you're not cool. But anyways, check out the new issue, y'all. It just dropped, or is dropping soon, or it already did, or something of that nature. But I dare you to watch it. Dare you. You'll know what I mean when you read it. Anyways, we're back with my man, Professor B. Professor B in the house. He's made it to the last up. He ain't dead yet. We dropping some knowledge so heavy that it's probably going to end up breaking your toes. But here we are at the full stop, y'all. Full stop. We are at the end of the show. I didn't even notice that. We just been having a fucking bomb-ass time inside the Starbucks with this man over here. His girl all laid out for the public. There's a window right there. I want to know how many cops are coming in day coffee break and just like, all right, just like whatever, man.
The last cop I talked to asked me to bring in the edibles, and I said, y'all ain't gonna do no work if I bring the edibles.
Oh shit!
True story, but sorry, what were we getting
here, dude? No, anyways, Dave in here, man. You kind of look like a little younger, like yeah, you do a little bit.
I go with it.
Get it, own it. My thing is though, yo, dead or alive, who would you smoke with and why?
Hands down, Terrence McKenna. No
Now why?
no question, dog. Because he would understand me.
Okay.
Because Terrence McKenna is the type of person that he's so smart, it hurts him. I want to talk to him. Tesla, I mean, Tesla's my second, even though he'd probably just be like talking to birds and stuff while we smoke.
That's true. Cool. He loved pigeons, didn't he?
Right, and we'd probably get off on that. He'd be a guy I'd want to apprentice for, but if I only had a time to smoke a burner, it would be Terrence. I'd be like, Terrence, tell me the craziest shit you ever heard in your life. Let's go right now.
Okay.
Come on, what about you?
I would mind, okay, if we had to go something in the realm of, let's say, okay, so if you're going to choose your engineer background, I'm going to choose physics, okay? If I had to go physics, Erwin Schrödinger, hands down.
Ooh.
Hands down. Like, I want to know, dog, why did you use a cat, though? You know what I'm saying? Like, so if you're going to go that route, and you're like, we put the cat in the box, Schrödinger's cat, for those of you who know, no, it's both dead and alive at the exact same time, okay? Yo, but why a cat, though? Well, that's the point. The cat's irrelevant, but the cat is utmost importance.
It is.
You understand? Because here's the thing.
It shows his personality, right?
Correct. Now, here's the thing. It's a cat. You understand? You can put anything in there with radio, you're gonna kill it. So why are we sitting here trying to kill animals? You know what I'm saying? Stop doing that. Just kind of theorize it. It never happened, y'all. The point is, it was a theory. Okay. And so with that kind of idea, I'm like, well, what else did he? So, that kind of concept led, Einstein to theorize that, okay, if there's things in the closet and I open the door and turn the light on, they exist, okay? If I turn the light off and close the door, they don't exist, So everything is there in that closet is existing, yet doesn't exist at the exact same time. I'm like, that's a lot safer than feeding radioactive, shit to animals. Let's do that. that. I mean, at the same time, I'm pretty sure both those guys probably smoked weed. But hey, we don't know about that because it's stricken from the history books.
You bet they smoked all sorts of crazy botanical plants.
Do you hear dude's hairstyle? No, come on.
Dude,
Hands down. The reason he had it stacked out like that wasn't just because he was like all struck all the time. He was hiding joints in it, dude. That's exactly what happened. Those weren't dreadlocks you were seeing, man. He was just pulling out peppered J's and smoking them, man. What are you talking about?
Yes.
Theorizing in physics, smoking up a blunt. Man, that's my point. Yo, don't make me have to go get, Albert Einstein on the show. I will.
Let's go.
You think I'm kidding? All right, hold me to it. I'm gonna get in for you. And you're gonna be like, how did you? Don't even ask questions, dog. Don't even ask questions. I'm gonna make it happen. That's what happens.
You're gonna get the guy from Ancient Aliens? Because that's basically what I'm thinking.
Nope. Albert Einstein.
Let's go.
You heard it. Albert motherfucking Einstein. I'm gonna reach back in the past and be like, yo, homie, come on. That's exactly what's gonna happen. I don't know if he'll smoke weed, but it doesn't matter because I can still maybe do that with Albert Einstein. I'm pretty sure I can actually.
I don't think he smoked weed. I don't know if he smoked weed, man.
No, dude, I watched Bill and Ted 1, 2, and thrice, okay? I know how to do this.
You're right, no.
I'll just go get it. That's it. Not a big deal. I mean, as long as you don't change the past or the future, I don't even remember the rules. Just take me here to go do it. Here's the cool thing. Bill and Ted totally smoke weed. Don't let them lie to you. If that's the case, you're like, I will give you an ounce. This is a gift. Just take me to get Einstein. They're like, all right, bro. And then we get in the thing and go. That's how I'm going to get Einstein.
I love the imagination.
I love it, man. I see where you went to it because you went straight. You took cannabis and you just bastardized it with logic. But that's who you are. A logic becomes a critical thought process for you each day to both figuratively and literally live out your life. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's it's iconic, man. It's institutional at this point. I think that it's paramount that we point out that you're a pioneer here, because this didn't exist 10 years ago, homie. 10 years ago, if you had that plan in your hands in that exact same Starbucks, whether it was there or not, you would be arrested. And that's the point, okay? Yep. We need more of this to kind of break the surface. Yes, we hear about East Coast. Yes, we hear about the West Coast. Yes, we hear about Canada. Yeah, we hear about Mexico's legal now. That's great. If you don't start fighting locally and for your local laws and regulations and things like that and standing up for your community, bro, if you're not taking care of your own backyard first, you don't have any fucking business in anybody else's. Facts. My man here, though, is spitting proof that you can take care of your own backyard first and get to where you want to get. You feel me?
Shout out to the community projects I work on, the UAI, Riddle Farms. I'm sorry, there's another one in Kent. I work on a bunch of different things. Shout out to all the people doing great things in Ohio, Michigan, Ann Arbor area, committing to their community.
Shout out iChat, shout out Michigo. That's the International Cannabis Chefs and Tourism, and that's the Michigan Internet. I don't even remember the Michigo. Listen, Michigo, you know that it's too long. You know I have a problem with some acronyms, and that I got at least like 2 words through it. The point is, Michigo, y'all, iChat, anybody that is kind of throwing that 5-finger punch, that 5-finger green punch out, you know what I'm saying? Get it. Get it, get it, get it. I think that knowing what we know about you now, Professor B, people can, kind of reach out and be like, hey, what's up? And if y'all, and by the way, y'all, sorry about that. If you want to reach out to him, it's at Professor_Bluntstash on Instagram.
What's up? I always answer my messages, especially if it's about growing weed. I love talking about weed. It may take me a little bit, but please connect. I think that this is the time that we need to, like you're saying, even if you're out of state, exchange knowledge. And I have a lot of tutorials, information, and comically funny stuff, just like Chef Roddy. We love keeping people laughing. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
that's half the material.
Too.
That's half the material because that's half the medicine, like you're saying, right?
Oh, exactly. And that's my point. Like, and it's funny because if, there's hungry, happy, sleepy. Part of that happy is a lot of laughy. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, it's medicine. You know, you don't. I mean, you might laugh when you're drunk a little bit, but you're gonna end up crying here sooner or later. You know what happens when you come down from laughing on weed? You just end up taking a nap, which your body needed. So, hey, win-win situation right there. You know, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today. I know it was a little bit difficult kind of getting it together, and it is what it is, but you know, I really think that what you're doing is imperative. I think that what you're doing, you know, and while you're doing it is probably the most prolific thing that you're ever possibly going to do in your life. That being said, I think that you're never going to be able to convey the anxiety that you've faced, the mental anguish, the ups and downs and turmoils of what you had to do to get to where you're at, you know. But I think that out of your work, you know, because you've written for Herbage magazine, that's a pretty prestigious, you know, and you've worked with all these other people. People know who you are, and that's the point. Or they may not know who you are, but you know, people know you if they don't know you, if that makes any sense. You know, you're shadow banned in a lot of things. The point, because you're speaking that truth, you know. And so I think that, like, doing what you do and why you do it is part of who you are. A. B, I think you're doing it for the right reasons, and I think you're doing it the right way. You know, I don't see any flashy colors. I don't see any, you know, any other narratives besides just this, and that's what you say, and I dig that. Me, I'm a little bit more of a, you know, complex bag of nuts. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a little bit of different flavors, but that's the way it is, man. Again, I can't thank you enough for being on the show, man. I appreciate it. You guys can check him out.
Thank you. Medicine
Instagram.
over money, man. Medicine over money all day. I rep it. Medicine over money. I don't care what anyone says. You're on one side. You're on the other side. If you're on that one side, I'm gonna make fun of you. I don't care. Let's go. That's just me.
Exactly. I mean, that's my point.
Thank you, bro. You're awesome.
I appreciate you, man. Let's worry about the correct color of green, y'all. Make sure, you know, you can just take it easy, take it breezy, or take it sleazy. Either way, my tokers, jokers, and smokers, y'all behave now. I'll see you next time. I'm out, y'all. Peace.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right. Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boy.